Hey, this is Mike Byrnes. Excited to bring you another video with an AI expert. Super excited to have my friend Blane with me. I'll introduce him in one quick second. Just so you know who I am, I'm a consultant. I have my own consulting business. I do a lot of writing, but published 500 times, and I speak all over the country. This is a topic that is going crazy, and so I wanted to go to one of my good old-time friends, Blane, who I respect probably as high as anybody, if not at the very top in the fintech world. So I'm really excited to have some time. Blane, welcome.
It's great to be here, Mike. And it was so funny to catch up and start doing history, right? Because we start counting the years. It goes back quite a long time when we think about some of the conferences back from 2010 on. So it
Yeah.
was great to also recap history leading up to today.
Well, say your full name, what you do, like tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Blane Warrene, it's great to be here. And I've spent my career in financial services. I probably don't want to mention the years. I'm aging myself. But nonetheless, I fell into it by accident, really. I was in the food world. I was training to be a chef. And early in our marriage and family, I wanted to have a more controllable schedule. And I bumped into somebody in my network very young, and he dragged me into what was then a real estate investment trust. And that was my first job in financial services. And I never left. In fact, I tried to leave once, and it was really uncomfortable not to be in financial services. So I love the industry. I love the technology. It's great to talk to your audience as well.
So where are you present day? Tell us a little bit about yours.
Sure. So I've spent quite a long time, but almost 10 years spanning an acquisition with Smarsh. And that was like going back and getting a whole nother master's degree, which I didn't have in the first place. It was a great journey. It was really a deep exploration of the industry, from the smallest RIAs and financial advisors to the top of the food chain globally. It was a great experience, and it really rekindled my hunger for being a product manager, building products, building software, and just creating outcomes for businesses and people. And I was very fortunate in 2020. There was an acquisition of a machine learning company at Smarsh. That's a critical part of their business today. I'm no longer at Smarsh. I left there at the end of 24 on good terms with them and still have good relationships there. But I was so fortunate to get introduced to machine learning prior to 2022 when ChatGPT lit the world on fire. And so I've been spending the last year teaching other people and other companies how to use AI in an intelligent way, not the crazy that you see on the news or on LinkedIn, especially. It can be a doom scroll on AI, but really materially building things that either help a person personally or help a business automate things.
So a little teaser, Blaine's going to show some of that maybe a little later on in the interview, right?
Mhm.
But like really quickly, like where do you see the world going with AI?
I think the biggest thing that we have to get past, I don't know how we'll reconcile the spending, right? The spending is almost monopoly money today when you look at the spending. I have a dear friend, Brandon Carl, who is extremely advanced in data science and artificial intelligence. And he created a great mental model the other day with an article. He called it Think About AI Spending Not as Software Spending, or operating expenses, as people say in the industry. Think of it like building the space shuttle and sending it into outer space was hundreds of billions of dollars over 2 or 3 decades to make it a reality. And that's the mental model he's creating for the spending. So that layer will reconcile itself one way or another. But I don't think AI is going away. And what I've been trying to get people to do is bring it to them personally and help them understand, what does it mean to me as a human? How can I use it to make my life better or learn something? And then secondarily, obviously in business, how can we use it not to replace ourselves, but often to be more strategic? A great example is, think about an RIA. The modern generation is pretty skeptical. We've seen the college graduation speeches where there's booing and noise making about AI. So you've got a skeptical generation who will now be working with financial planners. RIAs are best positioned to automate what the clients never see: the research, the processing of statements, the recording and transcription of meetings, What's next? What are the tasks that need to happen in the business? Um, and invest all of their time, the majority of their time, in what we're doing right here, talking to a client, whether it's on Zoom or at their kitchen table. That will make AI enamored to the process versus sort of an enemy or an obstacle to progress.
Yeah, I do worry about that younger generation though, because the efficiencies will first hit the people trying to look at those entry level jobs. So I think that they might be in trouble. They might feel it. So maybe they have right to boo, maybe they don't. But yeah, you're right. I think there's be so much potential AI, and if you believe someone like Elon Musk or whoever, whatever AI leader, like just the compounding of the potential, especially with robotics too, the potential of growth with the GDP and everything, it's pretty crazy. So we'll see if it all plays out or if it's a big bubble. We'll see soon, probably.
Yeah, I think the spending's going to have to reconcile itself. We can't just have an unending growth in the stock market, right? We will correct to real spending. What I'm trying to do is what you're talking about, which is it's changed how you get a job today. In 2026, I'm looking for a new role in my life, and it's a lot slower. But the fact that I am conversant and can demonstrate AI and ship, as they say, people like to say, I ship with AI. That has helped me in conversations where companies and engineering leaders believe what my knowledge is. That's what I'm trying to do for people because I do believe it's a very real risk that if we don't get people able to develop their skills quickly, there is that long time horizon that they can't afford when someone gets out of college. It's unaffordable today to look for a job for 2 years. Unless your parents are incredibly generous and able to help you with that soft landing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, so I 100% believe in Blane. So this is basically a big recommendation for you to do this video. But let's take it from that bigger AI picture down to you, like in what you're doing with AI and how you're teaching people.
Sure. So, two things. One, in my work life, as I started looking for a new role, I wanted to figure out how do I help myself better communicate with the world what I'm doing today and why I'm relevant for a new role. So, I invested at the beginning of this year in building tools in AI that helped me prepare for meetings, post meeting research, company briefs, and I also built a competitive intelligence tool. And the reason was I had done it in the workplace. And what I did is I would prepare for a meeting with the stakeholder, understand the company, and know all of the public data that's out there, and then do a competitive landscape of that company. So going in, I had a battle card. So in talking to them about a role, and obviously being a product manager, I'm looking in the product world, in software and financial services. So I go in and I have this ready to have a conversation, and it advances me. If I get on the phone, it gets me further in the conversation more quickly. And it's exciting. And what I've done to demonstrate that is I've just given it all away. So I have a GitHub. And while that may sound like ones and zeros and nerdy to a lot of people, you do not have to be. I'm not an engineer. I'm definitely technical over the years, but I'm not an engineer and I don't write code.
I'll pause you just because GitHub might be something that some people might not know what it is. So explain what that
Sure.
is.
It's
Yeah.
great. GitHub.com if somebody wants to go look. And what it is it's a software tool that companies use all globally. It's one of the largest tools in the world for use of building and shipping your software. And what I have done, and I can share this with the audience, but I can ship the plugins that I build for Claude, the prompts that I build for all AI, and other tools that I built for myself, and I put it there in a way that a normal business person can go up and read on the screen and click on it and use it for themselves. And so I've tried to help people understand that it's not as technical as it sounds to overcome, sort of breaking down the first wall of using AI to help yourself, whether it's work or personal. I'm even using it for gardening. I have a website for our garden that I'm sharing online. both wins and losses because we had some losses this year along with successes as we go through the year, and I'm sharing it.
And I've known Blane forever, so he's such a good guy, good personality. But like that's genius to not just put on a resume, hey, I'm an AI expert or AI proficient or whatever you would say, but like to actually demonstrate it. So do a little more of a deep dive. Like tell us what you've created. Like
Sure. So personal side first, because I think people like to understand. Can I use this at home? Is there something practical I can do? And you can use the free versions or the $20 versions. I always tell people $20, you can get a lot of value out of one of the AI tools, would be it Google, Claude, Anthropic, or OpenAI, or Microsoft. We've had a garden for years, and my wife is nearly a master gardener because she studied botany in college. Um, but now she does it just for pure joy, and we fill the pantry every year. We have a fairly large garden by most people's standards, by 500 square feet in the backyard. But it's all raised beds, and we just built them with scrap. So it's not like we went out and spent a fortune. We just built from scrap, and over the last 8 years, we've gotten good at it. And so this year, like Matt Damon in the Mission to Mars movie,
yeah.
I wanted to science it. I wanted to like, how can we do this better? And of course, all this stuff exists. U.S. Department of Agriculture, all these colleges that have agriculture extensions, and I built a whole gardening calendar for us. And when do we plant? What do we plant with it? How organic can we be? How hard is it to be organic gardeners instead of pesticides? And I realized it's actually a lot easier than it sounds. You just have to get all the information in one place. And of course, me being a product manager, I'm like, I need to share this. So I built a site. I built a site, zone8a.com. And if you go to it, that's our garden. We have pictures of our garden. We have the calendar and what we're planning this year. And we'll just keep growing it. And I've had a couple of software folks reach out to me who garden, who said, can we contribute to your GitHub?
No way.
And so I may turn it into a community for anybody that gardens. Zone 8A is sort of the southeast of the United States. So it sort of tells you when the frosts happen and all those things. So I've done that, and I also built something for myself on the business side. As I mentioned, I shared all the tools for how to prep for meetings and interviews and research companies. So those are all available on my GitHub. I'll share that after this video. I'll make sure I share it to be available to folks to visit.
Um, we'll actually make sure I put it in the link of the description of the YouTube video.
Perfect.
But make sure like a little bit of the prompt advice that you put out there. Tell me more. Like, how does that work? Like, what are you teaching people?
Sure. I actually really struggled with this, even though I had that early. I mean, if you think 6 years ago, most people in 2020, if you said artificial intelligence, they said, you mean like science fiction, right? Like movies, and the books we read when we were young. And so fast forward, even once I had early knowledge of how things work, we still got Chat GPT in the fall of 22. And we were going, how do I do this? How do I do that? How do I do this? We were searching like we search Google. And what I learned over time and from some incredibly smart people, because one of the things I encourage people to do, raise your hand and ask dumb questions. Do not hesitate. In a huge room, ask dumb questions. Because I guarantee you the 7 out of 10 people in the room are sitting there when you ask it, go, oh, I totally didn't want to ask that question. It would make me look dumb. But I'm glad that he did. So I asked those questions, and I learned that there are ways. Number one, there are ways to prompt. And I share this again. I don't have to bore your listeners to tears because I share it, the prompts on my GitHub. So clearly that link will be shared. But you structure how you ask for things is one. But more importantly, what I've unlocked this year, because a lot of these changes happened literally in 2026 on tools, OpenAI, Google, and Claude, where they created the ability for you to create sets of instructions that are persistent. So I go in and I have spent time. I'm a Claude user predominantly, but I've learned them all. But I've spent enough time with Claude this year that now my prompts are very simple because I have a pretty elaborate set of instructions that tell it how I work, my tone of voice, how I write, who I'm speaking to, and how I prefer This is why I don't have those hallucinations where it's too friendly to me, or tells me to go jump off a cliff, or the horror stories you see online are because you partner with it to make it smart, to work with you. It is just a robot. It's not a person. It's not a being. Uh, and you can't marry it, in my opinion. Um, but you can unlock a lot in the world. So anyway, this stuff is not mystical. It's definitely all over my GitHub in great detail and in my writing that I do on blanewarrene.com. So all of this stuff is openly shared with everybody, and they can get to it.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I don't think enough people put the context window in there and fill it up
Mhm.
to educate it to, obviously at the end of what your prompts, you want to have a really specific request, right? Like whatever you're trying to get out of it. But I don't think people use the context window well enough. But even like a simple advice for someone that is just dabbling with prompts and they try to tell AI specifically, I want to have this tone and this and this and this. Sometimes it's easier just to say, write this like you're a marketing professor or you're like you're a scientist or a business owner, because AI has so much information on what that is that it actually can do
Correct.
a better prompt than the human. But a person like you can put in so much good work that you'll get what you want out of it.
Well, and a great pro tip, you hit on something that's very important. The first thing you do when you start prompting, you tell the chat session you're in, this is your persona for this session. So me being a product manager, I often go in because I'm very passionate about product marketing as well, how to talk to the market, how to talk to customers, is I'll go in and say, you are a product marketing executive. So immediately it knows what it is. And sometimes I even go in North America because the cultural norms between Europe and North America are different, South America, other countries. And then I tell it what I want. And so what happens is I get really good results when I say something like you're a product marketing executive in the US. I'm studying companies between 50 and 250 employees who focus on X, and you give it a topic. And then you start asking questions, and you can tell the AI to give you a quick summary, something for a 30-second soundbite, or you can go all the way up to a research. At the last company I was at, they were studying franchises in the US that were between 50 and 250 employees, as an example. That's their ICP, their ideal customer. And so I went in and used the deep research function to be it. And I asked a bunch of questions about very specific, not franchise names, but franchise styles, to eliminate like the Subways and the McDonald's and all the monsters. I got back a 128-page footnoted document after about 20 minutes that had a really deep dive for the operations team to study. It doesn't mean that it was perfect, but it saved them probably a month, literally a month of gathering to be able to quickly assign all the reading and quickly make some decisions. So you have to fact check, you have to do things like that. But it's incredibly powerful to experiment with, to allow people to sort of unlock their ability to use it so that they understand maybe some of the context that are happening at work.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And actually, I like that you said you're mainly Claude, but I do like to experiment with all the different ones.
Mhm.
Sometimes give them the same requests, compare them, and see they all kind of have their own way of putting it in output. They've been trained different ways to give you what you ask for. So it's pretty interesting to compare things
Well,
and look.
you being a writer, you're more prolific than I, but I wrote for years. And then I went into a very dry period where I was so focused on just work that I stopped creatively writing, even about business. And now I'm back and I sort of reignited that passion for writing. So I'm just sharing it, on my blog, but I'm very focused on
So
trying
quick,
to,
tell people what your website address is.
BlaneWarrene.com. So my name, BlaneWarrene.com.
Great.
And same on LinkedIn. You can find me on LinkedIn that way.
And that all that
But
stuff will be in the description.
yeah, what I do is I love to. I don't like AI to write my articles. That sort of feels sort of uncomfortable to me.
Right.
But what I love doing is, and I encourage people to experiment with this, is to get an outline. You sort of start with an idea, and I tend to because of my generation, I still tend to be sitting somewhere and I jot some notes down and say, this is sort of where I'm going with this thought. And then I start typing it out. And I actually share that outline often and go, I want to go down this road, and here's my thought, and give me research. I don't ask it instead of writing the prose. I want it to actually research the idea. And an interesting thing you mentioned, we talked about fact checking. It'll bring back research, and I'll go, let's fact check that, and AI will correct itself. Oh, that was incorrect. That was overstated. So to people's points that you see online, you do have to still govern it. You're still the manager of the process. But I love that because it ignites my ability to then sit down with that research. And I'm surprised at how quickly now I can write 500, 700, or 1,000 words because I spent more time, a little bit more time in prep. And I love that. I've seen a couple of different ways that writers do it. Some people will let it write an article and then they tear it apart and rewrite it. That's a good way to get brain food. Um, and a couple of writers I spoke to like to write their own stuff, but go through the edit. Edit this like you're a newspaper editor, like you're a magazine editor. Now, I can't speak for creative writing, but I imagine it's very fun playing around with fiction. You probably just have to figure out how to do that. But I love it for business and technology writing.
Well, the fact that you do your own writing, I think, is going to differentiate you in the big time in the future, because so many people, like you said, that aren't writers, that are going to it, leaning on it too heavy, and then they lose their authentic voice. They lose like their ability to showcase their brain and their creative ideas and their thinking. And I think HR, kind of that HR window where you got to get through it to get to the hiring manager, and the hiring manager they're really going to have an issue, because there's going to be so much just AI slop basically that comes at them, that the person that can define themselves and show themselves. So that's like great, like to do a video like this, because people can see that you're an expert and you're not just all fluff. With less, we're synthetic humans right now. But if I was a synthetic human, I wouldn't have such a double chin.
Yeah, I'd look a lot. I have a face made for radio, right? So the one thing you hit on, something really important, because this is something where I can be pretty transparent because I'm looking for a role in 2026. The way my career went is not that I worked somewhere for 20 years, but I had a cascading set of roles that went through acquisitions. And so I actually did the math and realized the last time I was looking for a job was a long time ago. Let's just say it was a long time ago, pre-cloud, pre-AI. And so I had to rediscover how to network, other than obviously the people that I know. That's very natural. And you know how to go to your people and say, I need help, because I've always tried to also help them. And so it's easy to go back when you do that and say, now I need some karma, man. I need the universe to help me. And what I discovered, though, you hit on something really important. AI can be very friendly to this, is you never embellish your resume. But actually, in the modern world, a static resume doesn't work for every job, because AI tools are filtering these automatic employment systems that sort of get all the submissions, get 187 resumes, and a screener or a talent recruiter may look at 10 or 20 because it just filtered out. And so what I do with AI is I take a job description, and I said this to a hiring manager, and they were impressed. They were like, that's why I called you. This was an earlier interview. It didn't work out, but nonetheless, she called because my resume matched their keyword system, and it bubbled it into that group. And what I told her was, I don't know if you want to coach people on this, but I love the fact that I got to speak to you, because once you get to speak to somebody, that's your chance to shine. That's when you turn on your selling, and you really try to say, hey, this is why I want to speak to you. That job description was really interesting to me. So I've also spent time teaching people how to customize their LinkedIn, and how to customize a resume. Now, I always remind people, no invention. Don't make your resume look better than it is. But the words that describe what you've done can match the job description if it helps you get to the top of the pile. I think that's very real.
HR is using screening tools with AI.
Absolutely.
I know.
And I don't mind if I get an avalanche of people from this video that want free advice because I'll give it to them. So I know I'm
Hey,
opening up potentially a lot of emails, and I'm happy to do it because I think people need to learn how to do this
hey, I've like I
effectively for
said, you're
themselves.
you're a great guy, so I'm sure you'll help people.
Yeah.
I like to wrap up these interviews by saying, what question did I not ask? Is there anything that you want to talk about before we wrap things up?
Well, I love talking about the gardening stuff because my wife just ignited my joy in that. And I love that I was able to share about how you can use it personally as well as professionally. I think the one question that goes back is why did I stay in the industry? I get asked that a lot actually, because it's a difficult industry to work in when you're in a highly regulated financial environment with big ups and downs. We think about the major changes over the scope of time, like the 2008 crisis. All of us were impacted by that in some way or another. This industry is about trust, right? I mean, the reason you're still in it, the reason I'm still in it is our contribution, our way to make a living and pay our bills and contribution, that we sort of embrace that risk factor and the trust factor. And we realize this is the way to do really cool work in our own way. And I think the industry gets underrated because of the way when the big peaks and valleys happen in the news that you see on the major international or national news, it looks like either everybody's a criminal or really bad things are happening to normal people. And all the good news that happens in between is often missed. So that's the question I would always answer is why did you stay in this industry? Why do you want to be in financial services, financial tech? Uh, and it's definitely because you can make a great living, but you're also impacting humans for investing their money for the future. And even though I'm not an advisor, I love that side of the business, but I love the fact that I can control technology that helps advisors. So that's a very cool part of the industry that made it very sticky for me.
Nice, nice. Well, I think the world of you, and I'm so excited that you were able to join. I appreciate it. Like I said, I'll put stuff in the descriptions. Please reach out to Blane personally to ask for advice on GitHub, on networking, and pulling information before you interview, whatever it might be in it, maybe even gardening. But if you're a hiring manager, I'll end with this is 100% a great recommendation of a guy that I've known for at least 2 decades. Love this guy. He's a great guy. So if I can be another source of someone to talk with about why you should hire him, please don't hesitate to reach out to me too.
Ouch, that's brilliant. Thank you, Mike.
Thanks, buddy. I can't wait to hear where you land. I'm sure it's going to be very soon.
Outstanding.
All right. Take care, my friend.
See ya.